Hello, I'm David Barlow. I'm a Hawaii personal injury lawyer, and on this web page we are going to talk about the question if Hawaii insurance companies will treat you fair. Um, I guess the short answer is probably not unless you have a lawyer on your side. Insurance adjusters, I think part of their training is to have the nicest voice. They're some of the nicest people you'll talk to on the phone, right? They're just so nice and they make you think that they're going to take care of everything. They'll convince you that you don't need a lawyer, that they will handle it all and they're there to help, and it's not going to be a problem, right? And that kind of works throughout the first part of the process. Because the first part is the property damage claim. That's the first thing you deal with is getting the car fixed. And you know, there's not much wiggle room with that, right? It's pretty cut and dry how much it's going to cost to fix your car or what your car is worth. That's pretty straightforward. Yeah, sometimes that'll be difficult on the value of the car, and that's just kind of even the person making the claim. They're the ones usually that don't really understand that, you know, car accidents are just bad luck. So, you know, if they fix your car, great. Or if they pay you for the car, great. But a lot of people sometimes don't want to be reimbursed for the registration fee that they paid 2 months ago, or, you know, that they just love that car so much. It was their baby, and you know, it's hard to even compensate them for that because they took such good care of it. And I mean, but the bottom line is, if you're in an accident, you kind of just have to be grateful that they're going to fix it or pay you a reasonable amount to replace it. You're not going to feel like, wow, this is great. You know, I got even a newer car or lower miles, or they fixed it better than it was. That usually doesn't happen. But in general, property damage claims are pretty straightforward. So people will, you know, they'll be treated decently by the insurance adjuster for the car. So then they're like, oh, okay, I don't really need a lawyer. I got this. But there's a big difference between the property damage claim and the injury claim. All right, property damage is straightforward, pretty much. Injuries, there's no way to calculate an exact amount of what somebody's injuries are worth. Some people think they're, you know, have a low tolerance for pain. So they think their injuries are just worth a whole lot. You know, it's just kind of this magical number people think of, like, oh, this is how much it's worth and this is how much I want. It's like, okay, well, I wish it was that easy, but it's not. So insurance adjusters, they're always trying to get you to accept the minimal amount possible for your injuries. All right, insurance companies, you know, this is what they do, right? So they have access to millions of settled cases. They probably millions of jury verdicts, or if not, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands, a lot of jury verdicts, arbitration awards, mediation awards. They got it all, right? They, you know, have these huge computers where they put in your injuries, and at least all, you know, the average settlement for that injury, that amount of treatment, that amount of medical bills in your state, in your area, you know, for the past 30 years or something, whatever. So, you know, bottom line is they have access to a lot of information, and they have it down pretty good on the minimal amount that they can pay you to get the case settled. All right. It's very rare that somebody calls us and an insurance adjuster had offered, without a lawyer involved, that they had offered that person a decent amount or a reasonable amount. It's very rare. People usually call us when they get kind of mad when the adjuster's trying to offer them a very small amount, and they're just like, this is crazy. And then they call a lawyer. And unfortunately, sometimes it can be too late. All right? The perfect time to call a lawyer is, honestly, it's on the way to the hospital, okay? Or as soon as possible, or on your way home from the hospital. But as soon as possible, that's when a lawyer wants to be called, right? We want to make sure we're involved from the beginning, giving good advice, handling everything correctly. All right, that's when you should get a lawyer involved. Not 2-3 months later after you're done with your treatment, car's fixed, and then they offer you some little amount, and you're like, oh wait, I'm gonna need a lawyer. They're ripping me off. All right. Now, we do take cases sometimes 2, 3, 4, 6 months later, but we're going to be very thorough to make sure that the case is still okay. That we got a decent case here that didn't get messed up by somebody trying to do things without a lawyer. Okay. So that's kind of the bottom line. Insurance companies, people, it's required by law to have insurance, right? So there's kind of this kind of connection. People think that, oh, it's required by law, and insurance companies are very heavily regulated. It's not a free for all. Everything they do, it has to kind of be approved by the insurance commissioner. A lot of the policies they have in place. So there is some oversight, but the bottom line is, insurance companies are businesses, okay? They are going to do anything they can to make money. And their number one way that insurance companies make money is to pay the smallest amount possible for claims, right? If they could, they would love to just not have any claims at all, right? That's the dream of an insurance company, is to sell insurance and then not have anyone ever call and want to cash in on that insurance. But if people are going to call, they're going to do everything they can to pay the minimum possible. All right. This is, even in the past 10 years, we've seen insurance companies get tougher and tougher. It's getting harder all the time. Insurance companies are always evaluating things. How can they increase their profits? How can they pay lower claims? They're getting worse all the time. I could go through each insurance company, and some have been bad pretty much for the past 15 years that I've been doing this, but others have just progressively gotten worse. And I would love to talk about each and every one of them and really complain about them, but I'll keep it professional in case they're listening. Anyway. But let's see, what else could we talk about? Yeah, I think that's about it. The bottom line is, don't be fooled by the insurance companies. They act like they're there to help, but they're not. They're there to make money. You need a lawyer on your side, making sure that they pay what you deserve. And yes, lawyers cost money, right? Lawyers don't work for free. We got a lot of expenses as well. However, whatever percentage you're going to pay your lawyer, let's say you pay your lawyer 33%, you end up with 66% of the settlement. Almost always, you are going to end up with that 66% is going to be more than 100% you could have gotten without a lawyer. All right, if you want to think of it that way, that really makes it a no-brainer to call a lawyer. Okay, not to mention, you get 66%, but you don't have to do the work. You don't have to stress. You don't have to worry. You have somebody on your side trying to get you as much as possible. Somebody that's done this hundreds and hundreds of times. They know all the adjusters. They know how this works. They know how to get all the medical records and how to negotiate the settlement as high as possible. You have all of that on your side. And yet you're even ending up with more money than you would have ended up with if you did it without them. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, I know I'm the lawyer, but believe me, if I'm in an accident in another state besides Hawaii, I guarantee you I'm going to be hiring a lawyer. I just know that, first of all, I wouldn't do it myself because insurance laws are different in every single state. And yes, we get a lot of calls from lawyers that took cases on where a client was injured in Hawaii, but then they went back home because there's so many tourists here, right? So Hawaii is probably the most unique state in the country for this, where half of the population, a quarter of the population in Hawaii at any given time are tourists, right? So that means a quarter, a third of the people getting injured in Hawaii are probably tourists. which means they're going back home. Then you have lawyers on the mainland that aren't smart, and they're taking these cases that they know nothing how to do. And then they're calling us right before, it's time to go to court, and they want our help. And it's like, sorry, you messed that up on your own. Good luck with that. But the bottom line is, even I would get a lawyer if I got injured in another state. Yeah, in Hawaii, yeah, I got this, right? I can do it on my own, no problem. All right, this is what I do. But in the mainland, no, even though I would get a lawyer, no stress. I wouldn't have to try to figure out the laws. I wouldn't have to deal with the adjuster. I would know that lawyer is going to get me as much as he can, and I'll get 66% of it, but at least, I'm not doing any of the work and all of that. Okay? So that's why I give that advice, because I would live my own advice with that. All right? But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and feel free to look through the other pages of our website. We have a lot of information to help you out. And of course, give us a call for a free consultation, no pressure, and we will be happy to help you. Thank you.